Hi, Michael. Greetings from Kuala Lumpur. Um, First off, thank you very much for actually saying yes to be interviewed today. To be honest, property investing is something that I personally find interesting, and I'm a millennial. So I have a house, but I wanted to explore into. I mean, it's always been in hindsight that property investing is something that will never depreciate. I
Mhm.
hope, yeah. So, I mean, having you on board today, I hope can, shed some light on that. And especially for, I think it doesn't really matter what age group. I think they should know. I hope they can take away something from this. So, I really appreciate it.
Good.
Okay, so shall we start?
Yeah, just give me an idea of your audience. Who are
Right.
your audience? Age,
Okay.
what they're looking for, why they're listening to you?
Right. So my demographic, I think, is on uh 18 to 34, 35. But then I also have people listening above that because I talk about self-worth. So when I invite guests that talks about spirituality, then I have some traction there. So and for today, I guess it's because I'm from an accounting background, so it's a personal it's personal to me too.
Great.
So you can touch a bit of everything. I
Okay. And what
I
country do your listeners is your audience from? What countries?
Whoa, mainly Malaysia and US, and I have
Okay.
very few in Europe.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Okay. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for saying yes to be interviewed today. So, before we start off, I usually will read a bit of your introduction to my audience today. So, yeah, before we get right into it. So, hi guys. Today we have Michael. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Sarracini.
Try it. Well done, Nicolette. That's perfect.
Okay. He's an award-winning entrepreneur and real estate investor. Starting over 20 years ago as a university student with nothing but debt and the drive to succeed, he turned a small government loan into a multi-million-dollar real estate empire that allowed him to retire at 25. No way.
Yeah.
I'm behind by 8 years. Okay, but never mind. Let's see what he has. With his new freedom, he then explored other industries, including television, e-commerce, real estate, development, and private education. Today, he is the CEO of Keyspire and chairman of the Sarracini Group. He focuses on adding value to people through personal development and education, as well as adding value to land through strategic partnership and development. Wow. Okay. So Michael's ultimate goal is to help his partners and his students maximize both their profits and their purpose so they can live enriched and fulfilling lives. Impressive.
Thank
Fascinating.
you.
Okay, before we get into the serious bit, let's take down let's take a walk down memory lane. Could you tell us what was it like growing up as Michael Saracini?
Yeah. So I was. Oh man, maybe a lot of people can relate. I was a very curious kid when I grew up. I didn't like to follow the rules, and so I realized later that's the entrepreneurial mindset of kind of always painting outside the lines. But I started my very first business when I was in high school, which wasn't real estate. I wish it was. I started my real estate business when I was 20, but when I was in high school, I was 15, I started my very first business. And it's a really interesting observation I made. I didn't realize till decades later that this entrepreneurial spirit. But here's what happened. My dad we were coming from a middle class family, and my dad was a delivery driver, and he sold potato chips, which I love today. It's one of my favorite snacks. And so he would come home and he would bring boxes of the expired chips because you can't sell them. They take them off the shelves at the stores. And so he'd have boxes of expired chips.
Right.
And they're only expired like a day or two. And these dates are like best before dates. They're not like
Yeah.
bad chips. They're just the best before. So the quality is not, they got to take them off at some point, but they still are good for months. So I would be eating these chips with my friends. And then one day I was at school I brought a whole bunch of chips for my friends to give away. And more people wanted them than I had chips. And so somebody said, I'll give you $1 for that bag. I said, okay, it's yours for $1. Another guy's like,
even though they know it's best before, it's not like they're fine with it.
They're fine with it because they've been eating them for, people are eating them, and social proof, and they're $1.50 at the vending machine. This was, 25, 30, I don't know how many years ago when I was 15, but they're $1.50 in the machine. So like, I'll pay this guy $1. They taste almost exactly the same. So, okay, $1. This guy wants $1. Okay, perfect. And then another guy came up to me and says, well, do you have any more? I said, I'm done. He said, can you bring more tomorrow? I said, I could bring some more. And then the light bulb went off. I'm like, oh my goodness, if I just had more chips, more people would pay me and I could just be selling chips because I have a better price than the vending machine. So I would bring a box of chips to my locker and I would sell them all out. 20 bags, $20. $20 in 1995
Easy.
for zero product cost for a 15-year-old. I was making more than my friends that were going to jobs, $20 a day. And it took one break. Like, it was an amazing business in that respect. And I'll tell you why it wasn't in a moment here. And then, so this is what I was like as a kid. I was finding nuances, finding ways where I could kind of go between the lines of what is normal in society in order to create value for people and benefit for me in the sense of financial benefit.
It's a win-win.
I realized it's a win-win. And, now I've lived a little more life. I realize the benefit to me has to be fulfillment benefit more than financial benefit. So I know I want to talk about that a little bit today, but to continue the story, I'm selling chips, and then I'm noticing that people would buy my chips and then they would go to the vending machine to buy a soda, like a Coke, like a pop. And I said,
you had a combo.
The second light bulb, I said, why don't I sell them chips and a Coke as a pop, as a combo, as a cross marketing? So I went to the store and I bought a 24 case of cans for, gosh, it must have been like $3 or $4 to buy a 24 case. So then I bring in my locker, and in my locker I had a 24 case of cans. I had couple different options. And then I had my chips, a couple different options. And when people would come to me, the first day I remember they came to me, they bought it for $1, the chips. And I said, would you like a soda for $1? And those were $1.50 at the vending machine. I said, okay. I said, they're warm. Is that okay with you? Because they were warm. And they're like, okay, well, I'd rather save 50 cents because that was a lot. 33% discount for it just being a little bit warm. I later figured on how to bring a cooler and ice and make them colder. But
or put some ice cubes.
So now I'm $2 a customer. And boom, boom, and selling out because 1,000 people in the high school, I've got 20 or 30 items and I'm selling out every lunch. People are coming to me. And then what I did, Nicolette, was really interesting. I said, I have no more room in my locker. So I actually went to a friend's locker and I realized today I was renting it out. I said, I'm going to pay you to use your locker. You can share my locker and we'll put all our books in one locker. Together, and then I'm going to pay you to use your locker for my warehousing, my storage. So he said, okay, sure. Why not? I pay him like $1 a week, like not much. And now I think about it, I didn't even have to pay him. It was just kind of fun to share a locker. So now I had a business with 2 product lines. I had a recurring customer base and I had a warehouse for my material. That was what I was like as a kid at 15. And I made, hundreds of dollars doing that, but it came to an end because I didn't know one thing about business at the time, Nicolette, or I didn't have this value at the time. I didn't know that you got to do things legally, you got to do things properly, and sometimes things just aren't allowed. So eventually the vice principal came to be like, are you selling pop and chips out of your locker? The vice principal asked me.
It's better than selling weed or drugs.
Yeah, like I'm not selling drugs. Come on, this is great stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, I was so proud. I said, yeah, I am. It's amazing. I opened my locker. I'm like, look at the warehouse. I got this warehouse. I got customers. And like, you can't do that. You can't just sell things out. You can't do that. So I got shut down and I no longer ran that business anymore. But I know that it lasted for a few months. So I made some money. And I knew my next step. Now looking back, I know my next step would have been to build a team. So it kind of follows the progression of business. Is you figure out how you're going to add value, you figure out how you're going to get customers and keep them happy, you figure out how you're going to store or package your value, and then you have a team to help you grow that value. So I know my next step, the guy that I shared a locker with, I would have offered to him and said, look, you want to I'll give you 25 cents for every buck you bring in, and I want you to go out and sell more. So I know, I just know that would have been my next aha moment, but got shut down before that. So that was me as a kid. That's kind of there's lots of stories like that.
That made you who you are today. Like, wow. Like, I always, like, okay, as a kid, my mom, okay, contrary to you, it's not that different, but my mom, before we had, candies, we would repack it and sell it to my friends as well. So it's like,
Nice.
I've always had that entrepreneurial drive, but then I think it faded because the society, what they say, okay, you got to study and you got to be somebody and you got to climb the corporate ladder, things like that. So it's like, and now I'm only realizing that, like, coming back to what you said, fulfillment. Like, I've done that for the last 10 years, and then now what, right? So yeah. I mean,
yeah, you're absolutely right. It's society, and maybe not in society. It's just the status quo that is comfortable for the human brain and the human psychology. It's not comfortable to change. It's not comfortable to be different. It's not comfortable to try something new that other people have either decided not to try or tried and failed. It's not easy. And it's the 1% that decide to do that, to color outside the lines, that end up being successful eventually. I say eventually because it takes more failures to be successful than it does successes.
Exactly.
You got to be okay with that.
And you got to be okay to be mocked. And I think, like, also today, people care so much about what people think of us, because, to be honest, everybody's just thinking about their own crap. I mean, we have people who they see, why is he or she doing that? Like, but it's actually their insecurities just projecting, like, do I even have the guts to do it? Like,
yeah.
So.
And Nicolette, you said something in your intro I thought was really important, in terms of being 8 years behind. I want to just mention that for a second, because at Keyspire, we have trained over 100,000 investors in Canada and the US.
They're going to say nothing is ever too late. I know that. I know that. Thank you.
I have to just, change your mind, remind you. You already have the mindset, but let's just remind everyone listening that there's no such thing as too late. You're not 8 years too late. You're 5 years early. That's the way I would look at it. Look at yourself 5 years in the future. Who are you 5 years in the future? Put yourself in that person, and now say, what would I have done 5 years ago? And you now not become 8 years late. You become 5 years early. You just gained 5 years of your life. And the decisions you make today will change that person that doesn't exist yet. You're deciding who that person is with your actions today. So anybody listening who thinks they're late or they missed the boat, sure, I hit what I call retirement at 25, which I don't no longer use that word, and I'll tell you in a second why that's a bad word. Sure, I did it at 25, and most people don't, but that doesn't mean if you're 26 or 36 or 46 that you're behind. It just means you're ahead of your future self. You're always ahead of your future self, and that is the way to look at it.
Wow. Thank you.
And that's inspiring. That makes you happy, not upset. That makes you hopeful, not regretful or remorseful. It's hopeful to know that the past is the past and the future still has to be written by you.
I want to take a moment. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for giving me that clarity again. Like, I have it, but I think it's so important for people to hear that again. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna repurpose your questions. I think you have fantastic questions, so I'm gonna use them. So, why is your message important in the world right now?
So our message at Keyspire, our core purpose is to put people in control of their future. Put people in control of their future. That's why we exist. We just happen to do it through real estate investing, through portfolio planning, through lifestyle freedom day thinking and mindset. But our purpose is to put people in control of their future. And why now more than ever is because I think people are feeling the most uncertain today than they have in a really long time. We've gone through a 3-year period of incredible uncertainty, more uncertainty than we maybe have seen since World War II over the last 3 years. Forget that, the 1989 when the stock market crashed and the tech bubble bursting in the end of the 90s and the housing crisis in 2008. What we went through with this pandemic has shifted the world forever, and it has left people lost and uncertain and looking for control of their today and of their future. So more than ever right now, our message, our core purpose of putting people in control of their future is valuable, it's important, and it is critical today.
Perfect. What advice can you give to younger generations looking to becoming financially dependent? Gen Z or millennials like myself.
Let's talk about that. Gen Z, we're looking at about 11 to 24. Millennial, we're looking maybe 25 to 39. So those are the ranges let's talk about today.
Yeah.
And I was 20 when I started. I was 15, so I would be like a Gen Z when I started my pop and chip business. Mm-hmm. And I was 20 when I started my real estate investing business. And so I have a lot of experience in this space of being a young person trying to make it when you have no money, no credibility, no contacts, no support sometimes, no network. Like the list goes on and on of what you don't have when you're young. But there's something that you do have that most people don't have. In fact, anyone older doesn't have. There's something you have. There's a unique resource. And that's what the world is about, trying to find your unique resources that you can bring. And when you're younger...
Excuse my cat. I'm so sorry.
Hi, kitty. What's the cat's name?
Mario.
Mario.
He was just fine. Like every time I have guests on, he would start acting up.
I'll take it as a compliment. Maybe he wants to. Maybe he wants to chat with me. Maybe I'll take it as a compliment.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
You were saying.
When you're young, you have all of these unique resources, and we always focus on the resources we don't have that I just mentioned. All really important for growing your financial future, for investing in real estate, which is what I recommend hands down when you're younger, investing in real estate. But let's focus on the things that you do have. So everyone has a different list of the things that they have. They're unique resources that they bring to the world, and most importantly, their internal unique abilities that they bring to the world. We all have unique abilities that we bring. And too often we focus on our weaknesses and not our strengths. We focus on our disabilities, not our abilities. Mm-hmm. And I've really focused in my life over the last decade. I focus it with my kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. And we focus on unique abilities. When my kids come home from school with their report card, it could be like there's an A or a B, and then there's a C and a D and a D. Like there's all a range. Most parents or a lot of parents will say, "Hey, you got a D in this subject or a D in this subject. You got to work on that. We're going to do extra homework with that." I'm the opposite. I said, "Okay, you got an A and 3 Ds. Those subjects that are Ds, never think about them again. Don't ever do them. Don't spend a minute. Just get by. Just don't fail. But don't spend a minute building that ability in your life, because those aren't the skills, the capabilities that are going to make you successful and make you happy and fulfilled. Let's focus on what is this A. What is this A? Is it science? Spend every minute that you can over and above just getting by with those other stuff in science or math or whatever it is, a different language. Because that's your unique ability that's bubbled up. And it's amazing with kids because this is something we're born with. And when my 6-year-old comes home and he has he is clearly ahead of the pack in one capability over the others, the world hasn't stopped him yet. The world hasn't polluted him yet in terms of what he should be learning. This is his unique ability coming out. So this is my moment as a parent to say, let's focus on this. And just let the rest of it just melt away, because you can't be good at everything. In fact, we're bad at most things. I'm bad at 99% of the things that I could possibly be doing out there. We all are. Some of us won't admit it, but I'm bad at most things. I'm not good, but there's a few things that I am completely excellent at and I love doing. That's unique ability. The people, the things that you love doing, you're passionate about, and you're very good at. So focus on that and either partner with people or hire people to do the rest of it. So
The things
how
that
can I,
are E's and the things that are not A's, right? Like
yeah,
if
the
you
things that
take
are
it
not
as
A's.
technology. Mm.
One of the things that we do with our members. So unique ability is not something I made up. It was invented by my coach, Dan Sullivan from the Strategic Coach, which is my mastermind and coaching organization that one of them that I'm part of. But what I do with my members at Keyspire is something similar. We talk about your ability scorecard. And so I say, take all of the things that you're doing and rate yourself an A, B, C, or a D, just like you would be rated at school. And be hard on yourself. Say, you know what? Don't give yourself an A on everything. What really deserves an A? And pick 1 or 2 A's, and the rest give yourself a B, C, or a D. Now, those A's is what you should be spending 90% of your week on. And the B's, C's, and D's, maybe do some of the B's, but the C's and the D's, get rid of those immediately. Find a partner to do the C's and the D's. Hire somebody to do the C's and the D's. Automate the C's and the D's. Delete the C's and the D's. Don't do those. Whatever you got to do to not have those things encounter your life, you will be more successful, make money, and most importantly, be more fulfilled than you ever have been if you just do the A's. Just do the A's. And so now let's relate that to our Gen Zs and millennials. If you can learn early on in life what you're an A at, and you can learn what you're a B, C, and D at, and you can get rid of the B, C's, and D's and not spend time on those, and you spend time on the A's when you're 15 or 20 or 25, that compounds for decades. So by the time you're 30, 40, or 50, you are so damn good at something. You are better than anyone else in the city, in the country, maybe even in the world at something, because you have compounded for 30 years a unique ability that you're born with. And so it's so important, people that are young, to identify what they're good at and they love to do, this inheritability, and start now double downing, triple downing on that, learning that, because that compounds over the decades of your life.
Wow. Funny you said that because I have a younger sister. She's 11. So I was just giving it at her today because she was not punctual to her tuition classes. And mathematics, and I think another subject, I think it was English. Those are the 2 subjects that she's not very good at, but she's good in art.
Yeah.
So and I had a conversation with my dad. I told him, like, I feel bad for saying that to her, but because it's different. Like during my time, my dad has been always hard, like, you got a straight A. So I was a straight A student. So I got sucked into that overachieving until I learned it the hard way that you can't be good in everything, and you just need to find something that will fulfill you. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't want to replicate that to my sister, but now it's like a calling to me. Like the universe saying, I don't think you should say that to your sister now that you're telling me this. So I'm going to go back later and then
and then let's layer this on, Nicolette, because you said the most important part is it has to fulfill you. If you rate yourself an A, if you grade yourself an A on something, you not only have to be excellent at it, but you have to love doing it. Mm-hmm. If you're excellent at something but you don't love doing it, you're a B. You're not an A. You're a B. Because there's things that we're excellent at but we just don't love to do. You might be an A on your report card or your school, but you're a B on your personal fulfillment scorecard. So that's a really important point. So you might have straight A's, Nicolette. You might go back and have straight A's, but go back. That's the school scorecard. Screw that. Who cares? Your personal scorecard, you take those A's and now you rank yourself of what you love. You might be amazing at math, but you absolutely hate it. You just get by through hard work. But you're working 10 times as hard as the person that gets an A that loves to do it. So why work 10 times as hard at something?
Why go against the current, right? Like, I love talking to people, and this is the reason why I started my podcast. Like, nobody, and mind you, Malaysia is not big on podcasts yet. It's really big in the US. So I'm trying to bring that here. So it's like, I don't know where it's gonna go, but I love doing this, and talking to people just lights me up. Like, I have a 9 to 5 still. So it's 10 p.m. here, and after work, I was resting, and then I said, okay, I got an interview, so I gotta speak. So
Good. Well, I hope I didn't wake you up too much. Hope you can still get some sleep
no.
tonight. But
No, it's okay because it's 10 to 11, and that's the time for me to wind down. So this,
Good.
like I said, this is gonna compound, Michael, for me, like 5 years.
Yeah, you're 5 years ahead. You are ahead of the game. That should put a
Exactly.
smile on your face. Like you've just figured it out today, something that you don't have to figure out 5 years from now. Right? So let's talk about real estate. Do you want to talk about real estate for a minute?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So that is so I started in real estate. These are all the soft skills you need, the philosophies and the mindsets you need to make money, to actually make some money. So if I'm talking to Gen Z, let's talk about Gen Z for a second, 11 to 24. What I'm seeing with this group in terms of real estate investing is that this group is very technology driven. If you're listening and you're in this group, you're very technology driven. Even the younger generation, what's going on? Did you see a little down? Apple has done this thing where you can do thumbs up and it shows up on your screen. Do you see that?
Oh,
do you see this? Isn't this wild? Yeah. And I just touched my face and it did a thumbs down, so I didn't mean to do that. Let's see if it does anything else. Look at that.
No,
okay.
I don't see that.
I'm gonna keep my hands. I'm Italian, like your cat, so I move my hands around. I'm like Mario. I'm Italian, so my hands move. So this is a very technology-driven group of people, and even my son is 9 years old. And over the holiday break last week, he set up all the computers in our house in a local area network, so me and the 6-year-old, my other son, and him can play Minecraft together. I'm like, oh my goodness, I would have never been able to do that at 9. Right? So. Talk about unique ability.
All by himself. Not even YouTube.
All by himself, right?
Whoa.
All by himself. And he did the research when he needed to and just figured out how to make this work with all the connections in the software. And so my point there is, talk about unique ability. I'm double downing on his technology unique ability. I'm not saying you got to read better or you got to write better.
And then you're not gonna be like, oh, I need to be better. I need to be at least at the same par as him. Like, why? Like,
yeah. So I hire him now. I hire him to do technology in my business, the Sarracini group. And we hire him to do things around the house. So when the printer's broken, I say, Griffin, I have to hire somebody to fix his printer. I'm not going to fix it myself. It's not my unique ability. I'll give you $25 if you get the printer connected to our Wi-Fi and you make sure mine and mommy's computer both can print now. So I'll hire him to do tech jobs around the house. Whereas the other one, I hire him to do lawn work because his unique ability is being outside. If I hired one to do lawn work and one to do inside, they would fail fulfillment wise. They wouldn't be happy with what they're doing. I'd have to force them. So getting back into Gen Z, there's so many places we can go, Nicolette. This is a great topic. The world is a beautiful place. This is a group of people that loves technology, or I would say is much better at technology than any other generation ahead of them. Maybe not behind them. Watch out, Gen Zs, because the group behind you is coming through, and they're born. They're even more technology driven, which is the world. So they are fine. I'm finding that this group, they for the first time since maybe the 40s or 50s, home ownership is no longer important to them. They don't want to own a home. They like the flexibility of renting. They can work from different places in the world if they're entrepreneurial. There's technology that connects them to different places in the world. So they're okay with not owning a home and just renting and moving around. So that's okay with this group. I'm okay with it. My only rule for you is make sure you still own real estate. Make sure you still own real estate. You don't have to own your own home to be a real estate investor. So you can rent your place where you live. You can have the flexibility of renting and moving and moving and moving, but make sure you buy real estate and you own it, because that, just like your unique ability skills over 10, 20, 30 years, that will compound and make you a multimillionaire when you're older because you owned real estate today. You bought real estate today. You are 30 years ahead, not only 5 years ahead. If you're listening and you're 20 years old, you're 30 or 40 years ahead. You can look at yourself 40 years in the future and make an impact today. And so that's what I would say to this group. If your home ownership isn't important, make sure you still own property. How do you own property? Well, you don't focus on the things that you don't have. You don't focus on your disabilities, like you got no money. Okay, I get it. You got no money. I hear you. I had no money either at that point. You got no
Yeah.
credibility, neither did I. So don't focus on that. Find somebody else that has money. Find somebody else and be super clear on what you bring to the table, which is almost always the same resource that you will bring, which is time. You have time. You may not, probably don't have kids. 15 you might, but if you don't have any kids, and you don't have any, maybe you don't have a job, or you haven't gone to the workforce yet, or you're at school and you got extra time, whatever the reason, I promise you have more time now than you will when you're 30 or 40 or 50. That's where you don't have any time. So you have time today. Plus you have time horizon. You have decades in order to make up for any failures or mistakes that you make today. So take some risks, make something happen. You have a long time horizon to recover. So not only do you have time day to day, but you have a long time horizon. Take these two unique resources and find a way to buy property with these unique resources. What might that look like, Nicolette? Well, if I was 20 years old, I'll say when I was 20 years old, that was my exact situation. I had time and time horizon, but I had none of the other resources. So I would have to go and partner with other people. I would have to say, Nicolette, I want you to put down, I have an opportunity for you. Here's a real estate deal. It's great cash flow. I have it under contract. I'm going to get it rented. I'm going to get it renovated. I'm going to manage it. And the entire deal is going to pay a 40% return. Now, I'm willing to share that 40% with somebody that can bring the money to the table, because I'm bringing the deal, the tenants, the contract, the engineering of the deal, the management. I'm bringing all of these resources to the table that you don't have, Nicolette. All you got to bring is the money. I'm going to bring 7 things. You're going to bring 1 thing, and we're going to split 50-50. You're going to make 20% return on your money by partnering with me. Now, that becomes a pretty compelling offer when you put that together like that. I'll bring 7 things, you bring 1, and we'll split 50-50. Not 7-1. We'll split 1-1, and you don't have to do any of the work. So that is what I did for my first 5 years, and that's how I got to being at my retirement, or what we call Lifestyle Freedom Day. After 5 years of doing this, I worked really hard. I worked evenings, I worked weekends, and I used other people's money because I was willing to do all of that work. That allowed me to build a portfolio of cash flowing income properties that provided enough money every single month to cover all of my expenses and more. So then I started doing some fun stuff, like got into television, and I started this amazing organization, Keyspire, because I had the time and I had the income to allow my mind to be free.
Wow. Okay. Could you share with us, like, what was your journey getting your first real estate property? What was it like?
Yeah, so my first property. So it's my first. Before I bought my first property, I had to go through some loss.
Okay.
I had to have something at stake, and so in life we make changes because of 2 reasons, from what I've observed. We either have an incident or a realization. An incident is something that's external, something that's happened to you. It's a job loss. It's a divorce. It's you lose somebody in your life. Like there's an incident. There's something that you have a health scare or issue. There's an incident, an accident. Something happens and you say, I have to make a change. You have bankruptcy. These are incidents that happen externally. And then there's internal realizations like, I'm not going to be able to pay for anything in retirement. I'm not going to have money in 5 years. I can't buy the things that I want. There's internal realizations that are just like a moment where it's like, I got to make a change. So I had one of these realizations and incident combo. It was an incident that made a realization happen. After my business right before real estate investing wasn't real estate. It was being in a boy band. That was the business that I was in. So I was in a boy band, and we're talking NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, singing and dancing, no instruments, just the old vocal cords and the old dancing. So that was the business. And I was I was in university first year, and a group of 5 guys, me and my 4 roommates, and one of the guys approached me and said, "Let's start a boy band." I said, "Love it. Let's start this is gonna be great."
Come to think of it,
I don't know how to
do look like Lance. For a bit.
A little bit. Well, Nicolette, if you would have seen the frosted tips and all of that, if your listeners Google, the name of the band was Next Element. So if
Oh,
anyone
okay.
Googles Next Element boy band, there are a couple images up there. This was before the days of YouTube, and like this was 7 years before YouTube. So there's
Ooh.
not a lot of videos, but some things have surfaced. So we started this boy band. We had no idea what we were doing, so we worked really hard at it. We learned how to sing. We learned how to dance, practicing in the dance studio after hours at the university that we were attending. And then we worked for free. We did backyard parties and we did street festivals, and then people started to notice us after all that hard work and all that commitment, and we started getting newspaper interviews and then television interviews. This is before podcasts, so all interviews were on TV and newspapers. And then we started being invited to these variety shows across the country with thousands of people. And then we got a record label. We had a
You're
manager approach us and say,
famous?
we want to sign
Right?
you. We went down to Nashville, Tennessee to choose a studio. One of the studios, we looked at 3 studios. We chose a studio. It was one that Britney Spears recorded her album in. We flew back. We were
Oh.
living in Toronto, Canada at the time. We flew back to the airport. And in the airport, our manager said, this is going to be amazing. We're gonna make this happen. We're going to call you in a couple weeks. You guys decide what studio you want. We'll call you in a couple weeks and we'll book it. We'll go down. We'll make the album. Oh, great. We were so excited. A bunch of 20-year-old guys. And so a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks goes by, and there's no call. 4 weeks. Finally, on the 5th week, they call us. They said, guys, we're like, yeah, we picked Studio 2. They said, guys, it's over. We're going bankrupt. We have to drop all of our talent, and there's no album. There's nothing more. We were devastated. We said, oh my God, all that hard work. And it wasn't years of hard work. It was maybe a year of hard work, but all of that excitement, all of that hope, all of that bigger future
The
that
hype, yeah.
we were envisioning, that we had talked about for months, was all erased in one phone call. In 5 minutes, our entire lives, the trajectory of our lives changed in our mind. So that was the biggest loss that I've ever had of 20 years old. And it was a huge incident. And that was the moment that led me to my realization that I still carry forward today, 24 years later. The realization that underpins everything I do, that completely underpins Keyspire, that underpins my investing in the Sarracini group, that underpins how I teach my children and how I mentor people, is nobody's going to be in control of my future but me from now on. I'm going to be in control of my future. Not the record company, not the government, not an employer, not politics, not the weather or the economy. None of that's going to be in control of my future. The next, or the vice principal at the school,
Yeah, the school, yeah.
I am going to be in control of my future. The next business that I start, because I had no shortage of business ideas, the
Yeah.
next business I start, I will be in control. That is the only requirement right now. That is the baseline guiding principle, and everything builds on me being in control of my future. And that was my realization. And here today, still 24 years later, Keyspire's core purpose is to put people in control of their future. Because of that trauma that I had 24 years ago, because of that underpins every decision we make. And so that is what led me into real estate. That is the story that gave me the instant realization combo that said, I am going to get into real estate. That's how I found real estate.
Why real estate though? What was the key? What attracted you to real estate?
So real estate is the only thing on the planet I found that can put me in control of my future while I can have fun. I can work within my unique ability. I can make an impact on people's lives, and it's profitable. It makes good money. So it was the only thing I found that checked all of the boxes. So when you think about an investment, we'll start with just an investment, which is probably more millennials, Gen X, a little bit older. What are we going to invest in for our future? Well, we can invest in the stock market. That's garbage because the stock market goes up and down. And I say that's garbage compared to real estate. And I know I have financial advisors listening and portfolio managers and that have built a career around it. And I'm not here to, pardon?
No, and then they're going to say, excuse me?
Excuse me. And I all the time, and I don't mean to offend anyone's personal choice, but just in my experience, I invest in both the stock market and real estate. And the stock market doesn't even come close. I'm somebody that's been doing it for 24 years, investing in both with multiple 8 figures of my own money So I have something at stake. Okay. I know what is going on with these two investment types. And so not a lot of people have that type of exposure on both sides like I have. You can invest some clients' money, or you can, maybe buy a property here or there. But and not only that, we've helped over 100,000 other people invest their portfolio through the public market and through real estate. So I've seen a few things, and I can undeniably say that real estate is the best investment that I have ever seen. You've got the stock market, which goes up and down and up and down. It's volatile. People say, well, is real estate risky? Is the stock market risky? I think risk is just another word for volatility. And to me, when things are volatile, which means they go up and down a lot outside of my control, there's that word control again. When they go up and down a lot outside of my control, that's what I call risk. That's risky to me because I have no control over the value of something. Nicolette, if I have no control over the value of something, that's risky. That's risky to me. So when people are thinking about risk, think of how much control you have, how much influence you have over what something is worth. That, to me, is the definition of risk. Now, let's go into real estate, the other option to investing.
I've been saying that for the past 2 minutes.
Right.
I love this.
Real estate, okay, people might say, well, Michael, the real estate market might go up and down. You have no control over that. And I say, that's absolutely true. But real estate has 4 ways to win. There's 4 ways to make money in real estate. One of those ways to make money, you don't have control of. That's the real estate market going up and down. To me, that's the bonus. If the real estate market doesn't go up, then you still have to make money in real estate. There's 4 ways to win in real estate. Number 1 is cash flow. When you buy a property and rent it out, you get cash flow. Every single month, you put cash in your pocket. Number 2 is principal recapture. This is the tenants paying down the mortgage so that the equity increases in the property. Right. Number 3 is passive appreciation. This is the real estate market passively going up. Yeah. And the 4th, and what probably puts you the most in control, is active appreciation. This is actively and intentionally making the decision to improve the property. So the best example is you buy a property and you can renovate it to increase the value.
Right.
Who listening can take their stock portfolio and has active appreciation? Oh, I'm investing in 40 companies in my mutual fund or my stock portfolio. I'm going to go to one of those companies and increase the value tomorrow. I'm just going to make it worth more. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. You can't just walk into a company and make it worth more, so now your investment's worth more. But you can walk into your property and you can renovate it. You can paint the walls. You can redo the flooring. You can redo the kitchen. And that makes property worth more. We all know this. We know that when we put value-added renovations in, the property is worth more. Now, there's definitely a system around that, and that's what we teach our members at Keyspire. You've got to do the right renovations. You've got to do it in the right way. Your budget has to be right. So there's a whole process around that. But when you do it right and you follow the system, you will increase value on that investment. And there's almost no other investment on the planet where you can do this. Fine art. Imagine buying fine art and trying to increase the value by painting over it. No. Imagine investing in a nice wine collection or buying a nice fancy watch. These are investments. You have no control over the value. You cannot actively increase the value. So anyone listening, Gen Z, millennial, if you're any age, you can invest in real estate and you have control because you can decide when and how you're going to increase the value. You decide what tenants you put in the property. You screen them. You decide what questions you're going to ask. You get to choose your tenants based on your judgment or based on the judgment of your property manager. So you get to choose that. In your stock portfolio, you don't get to choose the employees that come on board. You don't get to choose the customers. It's all out of your control. In real estate, everything is within your control, other than, of course, the market going up and down. But Nicolette, if the market goes up for me, that's a bonus. It's fun. Yeah. Great. I made some money on the market going up, but that's not why I invest. I invest to be in control over the income that my assets produce.
Ooh, that was a big one. That was a good one. I invest in the income that my assets produce. Whew. Okay. So I have a question though, just thinking out loud. What about those people who started late? Like, who's only thinking about investing in property at 40 or 50? Like, do they still have a chance at this?
I had a 90-year-old man come to one of my investor summits one time. He came in, he said, Michael, I joined your community. I said, okay, you're 90. And I'm talking about long-term investing, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. And he's 90. So, at 90, you don't know what that runway is for you.
Yeah.
So he came up to me and he said, Michael, I joined your community not so much because I needed the money, but this is definitely going to make money for my family. 5
Oh.
years, 10 years, 15 years, my family is going to be better off because I'm going to leave them a trail, a portfolio of income producing assets that puts them in control. So that is the practical or the tactical outcome, but that's not why I joined this community, Michael. I joined this community because for the first time in 50 years, I'm doing something I love to do, that I love to wake up every morning and do. I get to wake up and I get to decide what I'm going to do with my real estate investing business that day. I can take the day off. I can go look at properties. I can add value to my tenants. I can meet with my partners. And that's why I joined this community, because it fulfills me. I enjoy it. And so I'll use that story to answer your question. Is it too late at 40 or 50? Well, what do you want? Do you want to live a meaningful life that gives you something that puts you in control, that you enjoy doing, that you can add value to people and still make money? Well, then 90 is not too late. It's never too late. It's not too late until the day you die to check off the boxes of being fulfilled, enjoying doing something, being in control, adding value to you, adding value to the community. If that's important to you, then real estate is never too late. If leaving money, leaving a legacy of wealth to the family, the school, the community, the church, whatever is important to you, if leaving a legacy of wealth is important, then it's never too late. The day before you die is never too late in order to leave that legacy. So I'll answer the question to say it depends on what you want, but if those are important to you, then it's never too late to invest in real estate.
Wow. Thank you. Okay. I was internalizing it because I do know some people that will resonate. Like, I mean, if they were to hear like first part of the podcast, I'm like, oh, they're talking about Gen Zs and Gen X. Like, I don't have a go at this. Like, move on, go.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and older, and if you're older, I mean, there's a lot of practical. Everything I'm talking about is still practical. If you have no money, you bring your unique ability to the table. If you have money, you don't do any work. You invest in somebody that doesn't have any money, and they do all the work, and you make returns better than the stock market, better than any other investments you're looking at, without doing any work. So at every age, the tactics are still there. You know, the philosophy I just explained, but the tactics are there. And that's what we teach our members at Keyspire. No matter what stage you are in your life, and it's not age, Nicolette, it's stage in your life. Because you might be 22 and have 3 kids. You might be 42 and have no kids. Kids really drive it a lot, right? That's you might be 50 and unemployed. You might be 25 with a great job. Like it's not age, it's stage of your life. It's the variables and the factors that shape your life and who you are. And that has nothing to do with age. That has everything to do with just who you are. And so we train our members different tactics, different strategies based on who they are and what they want.
Okay, so where should people start looking out for homes? Suburbs, lesser known areas? Like,
Depends on who you are and what you want.
Okay, we're back to that. Okay, so
right.
Let's say we have a scenario. Maybe those scenario A, people should go to suburbs. Then scenario B, people should go to the other parts.
Yeah, so I would say as a baseline, let's start with a generality, because when our coaches are working with members, it really is to discover who they are and what they're looking for. Some people want income. Some people don't want income. They're in a higher tax bracket. They just want that equity increase. They want their wealth to increase, and they don't actually want more income because they're paying taxes already. Some people have no cash flow and they want income, and they're not really worried about, 30 years in the future. They need money today.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what you want. But the general investment that covers all of these bases is the income property. And that could be anywhere. That could be in the middle of a city. That could be a farmhouse down a dirt road, an income property. The main qualification for an income property is that it provides income. And it can be anywhere. It can be any form. It could be a single family home. It could be a apartment style condo. It could be anything. It could be a cottage or a secondary home or a lake house. It just needs to provide income across those 4 ways to win I talked about: cash flow, passive appreciation, active appreciation, and principal recapture. It has to produce the 4 ways to win and a return on investment. So the best tactic we've seen is finding a property that you can add a second unit. And this is where my business partner, Scott, and I used the model for the television show Income Property, which is in 44 different countries. It's the longest running real estate show on the planet, Income Property. We took our business model that is basically you take a single family home and we would just put a second unit either in the basement or above the garage, wherever, whatever makes sense in that home. And now we've increased the value. We're in control of our future. And we've increased the income. We're in control of our future. So we've actively been able to increase the income. So anyone who is starting out or looking for a general, where do I start in real estate? Find a property where you can add a unit. Either that's a 1-unit property where you add a second, or a 2-unit property where you add a third, or a 1-unit property where you add 2 units. The more units you can add, the more income you're going to have. And if you have nowhere to live, here's the beautiful part. You live in 1 unit and rent out the other 2. You'll live for free half the time. You want to live for free? Get an income property. Buy a property, put in a basement apartment, live in the basement apartment, and rent the upstairs. Half the time you'll live for free, depending on how the numbers work out. So that's where, if I was younger, that's where I would start.
Wow. Whew. Okay. Let me see. What are some insider real estate buying tips that most people don't know?
Insider real estate buying tips. So number 1 is have a network, have a community of people. This is a people business, not a paper business. You're not going to be searching on the listings online like everybody else and finding all the great deals. You'll create great deals doing that because you'll identify a property. Once you're skilled and experienced or you take some training, you'll be able to see properties that you can create value where others can't. Like the example I just gave, single family home, you can turn into a 2-unit. But most deals happen through networking. Most deals happen through word of mouth. So if you want insider deals, you want legal insider information, you go to the stock market with insider information, you go to jail. You go to real estate with insider information, you go to the bank. Insider information. That's talking to other people in your network, being part of a community where you're sharing these properties and these resources. At Keyspire, we have a community called the Keyspire Inner Circle. It's an elite group of 35 or so hundred people, small group of people compared to our hundreds of thousands in our larger community. And this is a group of people that are every day sharing deals, doing deals with each other, investing in each other's properties, helping each other grow, joining each other's teams. And what I've seen in that community has been absolutely remarkable in the progress that people can make in such a short period of time just by being around people, by having a tribe. And so that would be how you get the insider deals. How you get started is being part of this community or a community. I think we have a community at Keyspire called Real Estate Millionaires, now that I think about it. It's a free community. It's on Facebook. It's open to the entire world, called Real Estate Millionaires. That might be a good place to start. Join Real Estate Millionaires on Facebook. That group is a community of about 25 or so thousand people, 20,000 people maybe around the world.
So, I was going to ask you one thing. It's going to come to me. It was something very important, but that's okay. What is your upcoming event?
So we have a couple ways for people to get educated.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Yes, let's hear it.
Sorry, I got it. Which area do you cover? Like, which part of the U.S. do you cover? Are you like in specific part of the U.S. or just?
So the way we work at Keyspire is the strategies we teach work everywhere on the planet, virtually everywhere in the world. So you could even just see the last 45 minutes of our conversation. What I'm talking about is not restricted by borders, not restricted by politics. It is human nature. Being successful is tapping into human nature. So I'll start with that, saying that most of what we talk about, and certainly what I coach people through, is available anywhere on the planet. But now let's get to the tactical piece. Like, what are the strategies, the mechanisms, the tactics, the step-by-steps? Where do we work with that? Well, we have an amazing coaching team. We do one-on-one coaching and we do group coaching with our members. Our coaches are in Canada and the US. So that is where we focus our coaching. Our bigger picture strategies will be international. But if you want a coach you need to be investing in Canada or the US in order to really take advantage of our coaching. Our coaches still can help throughout anywhere in the world, but we really want to focus on those two countries. Where in those two countries? Anywhere. And maybe Malaysia next.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Do you have affiliation with any Asian countries yet so far?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't. No, we don't. We Canada and the U.S. is a pretty large beast on its own, 400 or so million people. But
yeah,
I think the 10x might be to go into Asia, because there's a large group of people here that could use our help as well.
Right.
But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's for another episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you. I don't want to keep you too long. Okay, we're gonna pivot to a self-worth question, because that's the essence of my podcast. So, have you ever succumbed to the feeling of worthlessness? And if you have, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, self-doubt. I mean, I'd say self-doubt is the word I would use, and that happens all the time. I mean, we doubt ourselves all the time, and the more successful you become, the more you doubt yourself.
Yeah,
we did a fantastic live stream to our community a couple weeks ago. Someone on our team, Madara, did a live segment on imposter syndrome, on how as soon as you become successful, you feel like you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And when you feel like you don't deserve it, you feel like you start to doubt yourself. And so, how to get through self-doubt is something that I've gotten through really well over the last few years. I focus on, here's how I do it. Okay. You need confidence. Everything starts with confidence. If you protect your confidence, build and protect your confidence, then worthlessness, it's the antidote for worthlessness or self-doubt. So how do you build your confidence? It becomes a question. How do I become confident on something? Well, there's a few ways to become confident. Okay. Number one, to become confident is focus on your unique abilities. What you're really good at. Focus on back to the basics. Focus on what you're really good at. I'm really good at this. Yeah, I am really good at this. Maybe the entire world is scary, but I'm really good at this. Number one. Number two, support group. Back to that community point. Have a community that can support you. Have people that can support you. All right. So focus on your unique ability, the things that you love to do and you're excellent at. Have a support group, a community of people that you can draw confidence from. And then the third, and this one works well for me. Everyone might not have this particular one, but I read customer reviews to give me confidence. Like, I love interacting with our members. I love hearing their success stories. We have a tab on our website called Success Stories, right, on Keyspire.com. And you go and you just read everyone being successful, making millions of dollars in real estate, providing meals for children. For everyone that becomes a member, we provide 10 meals for children at Keyspire. So those are the things that make me feel valuable. Last year alone, we did 90-something thousand meals for children between us and our partner. So we have made some serious impacts on the planet. And that's the type of stuff that says, okay, I got to keep moving forward because it's not about me anymore. If I don't keep moving forward, then what about all those hungry children 5 years from now that aren't going to get fed? What about all the people that are going to join my team that never got a chance to join my team? They're going to live fulfilling lives. What about the people on my team today? What about all of our members? So I make it about them and not about me. And that really gives me some motivation to move forward. Because if it was about me, I don't know. I have enough money to do what I want and go live in any country I want. So it's
not sustainable. Yeah. If you think about it, if you do things for yourself, it can only go so long until you hit
that. It's boring.
It's
boring after a while.
Exactly.
You don't be
boring. Yeah.
It's boring. It's. I mean, it's fun for a bit. You get a boat. When I was 23, I bought this beautiful black Porsche convertible, and I had a beautiful Ducati motorcycle, and I had a house, a second home down near the Caribbean. Like I had it all, and then I sold it all when my first child was born. And I said, you know what? This is about more than me. That helped me realize, story for another day, but that helped me realize it's more about me. So I sold all the toys, and now I've got very little, and it's really not. I live the life I want, but it's not about having stuff. It's about just focusing on those other things. And so that gets you through. That builds confidence.
Okay. Okay, one more question, Michael. I
Okay.
know you're a man of
And then I'm going to roll. Then I better
yes.
roll.
Okay. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
One of the most important things I like to live my life on, and I tell our members all the time, is uh, being consistently good drives more progress than being occasionally great. We focus on being consistently good. Showing up for 5 minutes a day is better than showing up for 4 hours once a month. Going to the gym 30 minutes 3 times a week is better than going to the gym for 10 hours once a month. 10 hours once a month is great, but it's not consistent. It's better to be consistently good. Show up every day for 10 minutes for the rest of your life, and you will drive more progress than doing something once a year.
Perfect. That will wrap up our interview. Thank you so much, Michael, for your time. I have learned so much. And whatever that you said, it's not just going to my audience, it's going to me as well. So
Oh, it's
thank you.
wonderful.
I really appreciate your time.
Wonderful.
And
Well, thank you, Nicolette.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much. Do you have I know you have a website, but do you have an Instagram? Because normally when this airs, I will clip and then I will tag you. But if you
Yeah,
have,
the best place for people to get a hold of us is we don't really spend a lot of time on Instagram or Facebook. We really just focus on the basics, focus on our people, our members, our
okay,
training, our coaching. So there's two places where people really like to enter our organization. Number one, the first one is free. We do a 60-minute masterclass that my business partner, the co-founder, does on how to invest in real estate. And that's pretty simple, keyspire.com/masterclass. If you want just 60 minutes, you want the goods, and it's absolutely free, you can go there. We also do a 3-day boot camp. It's a couple $100, and it's a full money back guarantee. It's 3 full days. If you're a little bit more serious than just a 60-minute masterclass, go to the 3-day boot camp, keyspire.com/bootcamp. And our trainers there are absolutely amazing. It will be a life-shifting moment. And hey, if you don't have a great time, if it's not for you, we give you all your money back. We are 100%, we stand by what we do. So those are the two things that I would recommend, the masterclass or the boot camp. And if you like that, you can join our mastermind program in this amazing community of inner circle members. But the boot camp or masterclass come first. There's always the prerequisites.
perfect, transparent. Thank you so much, Michael, for your time.
All right. Thank you,
All
Nicolette.
right.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.